May 7th, 1915. Off the coast of Ireland, the RMS Lusitania, a leviathan of the seas, cuts through the Atlantic's dark waters. She is a marvel of human ambition, a floating city of steel, powered by the sweat of stokers and the dreams of engineers. Nearly 2,000 souls are aboard, each carrying their own hopes, fears, and secrets. But beneath the waves, a shadow moves, a predator of the deep. The German U-boat U-20 lies in wait. In moments, the world will change forever. The Lusitania was no ordinary ship. Launched in 1906, she was a titan of her time. 787 feet of gleaming steel, capable of slicing through the ocean at 25 knots. She was built for speed, not just luxury, though she had plenty of that too. Grand staircases, opulent dining halls, and cabins fit for kings and queens. But beneath her polished surface, she was a beast of burden. To power her massive engines, she devoured coal, 6,000 tons of it on a single voyage. Imagine the back-breaking labor of the stokers, shoveling coal into her ravenous furnaces, hour after hour, day after day. And water, 1,000 tons of it, was needed just to keep her boilers alive. This was no Titanic built for opulence and indulgence. The Lusitania was a machine of war disguised as a luxury liner. And then there were the people, nearly 2,000 of them, passengers and crew alike. The wealthy elite sipping champagne in first class, families in second and third class dreaming of new lives, and the crew, the unsung heroes who kept the ship running. But this was no ordinary voyage. The world was at war. Germany had declared the waters around Britain a war zone. Just days before departure, the German embassy placed warnings in newspapers: travel at your own risk. Yet they boarded, nearly 2,000 souls trusting in the Lusitania's speed and reputation. What U-boat could catch her? What could possibly go wrong? On the afternoon of May 7th, 1915, the unthinkable happened. At 2:10 p.m., U-20, commanded by Captain Walter Schwieger, spotted the Lusitania off the coast of Ireland. A single torpedo was fired. The impact was catastrophic, an explosion near the starboard bow. But then something even more terrifying. A second explosion, far more violent, tore through the ship. To this day, no one knows for certain what caused it. Was it the coal dust igniting, the boilers rupturing, or as some believe, were there secret munitions hidden in the cargo hold? The truth lies buried beneath the waves, with the ship herself. Panic erupted. The Lusitania was no Titanic. Titanic took 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink, time enough for some semblance of order. The Lusitania had only 18 minutes. 18 minutes to abandon ship, 18 minutes to face the unthinkable. Lifeboats tipped over, passengers clung to wreckage, and the Atlantic claimed over 1,100 lives, including 128 Americans. The water was cold, the waves merciless, and as the Lusitania slipped beneath the surface, she took with her the innocence of an era. Comparisons to the Titanic are inevitable. Both were symbols of human ambition. Both carried the rich and the poor, the hopeful and the desperate. Both met tragic ends. But while Titanic's sinking was an accident, a collision with fate, the Lusitania's demise was an act of war. Titanic's passengers had time to say goodbye, time to pray. The Lusitania's passengers had only chaos. And yet in both tragedies, there were stories of heroism, of sacrifice, of humanity at its best and worst. The sinking of the Lusitania was more than a maritime disaster. It was a turning point in history. Outrage swept across Britain and America. Germany defended its actions, claiming the ship carried war materials, a claim still debated today, but the damage was done. The sinking pushed America closer to war, and in 1917, the US finally entered the conflict, changing the course of history forever. But the Lusitania's story doesn't end there. Did you know that one survivor, 18-month-old Audrey Lawson Johnston, lived until 2011, the last known survivor of the sinking? Or that some passengers, like Alfred Vanderbilt, had premonitions and cancelled their tickets at the last minute? And then there's the wreck itself, lying 300 feet beneath the ocean off the coast of Ireland, a ghostly monument to a bygone era, slowly being reclaimed by the sea. The Lusitania was more than a ship. She was a symbol of pride, of ambition, of the fragility of life. Her loss was a grim reminder of the cost of war, a tragedy that reshaped the world. And as her rusting hull rests beneath the waves, she whispers her story to those who listen, a story of hubris, of heroism, and of the thin line between war and innocence. What defines a tragedy in our collective memory? Is it the number of lives lost, or the headlines it generated? Is it the scale of the disaster, or the stories left untold? The sinking of the RMS Lusitania on May 7th, 1915 was a tragedy that shook the world, yet its legacy often lingers in the shadow of another maritime disaster, the Titanic. Both were colossal ships. Both met tragic ends, but their stories diverge in ways that reveal much about how we remember and why. The Titanic, sinking in 1912, was a story of hubris and human error, a collision with an iceberg, a ship deemed unsinkable, lost on her maiden voyage. The Lusitania, just 3 years later, was a casualty of war. A single torpedo from a German U-boat sent her to the depths in just 18 minutes. Both ships carried the rich and the poor, the hopeful and the desperate. Both left behind tales of heroism and heartbreak. But while the Titanic story is wrapped in the romance of a bygone era, the Lusitania's sinking was a stark reminder of the brutal realities of war. One was an accident, the other an act of aggression. And yet, why do we remember one so vividly while the other fades into the background? The cultural impact of these tragedies is fascinating. The Titanic became a symbol of human ambition and its limits, immortalized in books, films, and songs. The Lusitania, though equally devastating, became a political tool. Her sinking galvanized public opinion, particularly in the United States, where outrage over the loss of 128 American lives pushed the nation closer to entering World War I. The Titanic's story is one of human folly. The Lusitania's a story of war's indiscriminate cruelty. But both forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about safety, about accountability, about the cost of progress. In the aftermath of the Lusitania's sinking, the world began to change. Maritime laws were re-evaluated, the rules of engagement at sea were scrutinized. The tragedy exposed the vulnerabilities of civilian ships in wartime and prompted calls for greater protections. It was a wake-up call, a grim reminder that the innocent often pay the heaviest price in conflict. And yet, despite these changes, the Lusitania's story remains less celebrated, less examined. Why is that? Is it because her sinking was overshadowed by the larger horrors of World War I? Or is it because her story lacks the romanticized narrative we so often attach to tragedy? Let us take a moment to reflect on the lives lost. 1,198 souls who boarded the Lusitania with no idea of the fate that awaited them. Among them were men, women, and children, each with their own dreams and aspirations. Their stories, like those of the Titanic's victims, deserve to be remembered, not just as statistics, but as individuals whose lives were cut short by forces beyond their control. In remembering them, we honor not only their memory, but also the lessons their loss taught us. As we look back on these tragedies, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the power of memory. The Titanic and the Lusitania, two ships, two disasters, two legacies, one remembered for its grandeur, the other for its grim reminder of war's toll, but both serve as poignant reminders of how we choose to remember and why. In a world filled with tragedies, may we never forget the stories behind the headlines. May we always strive to learn from the past, to honour the lost, and to ensure that their stories are never silenced by the passage of time. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the depths of history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, and remember, the past is never truly gone. It lingers like a shadow beneath the waves.